The book of Jeremiah, chapter 35. I'm going to be reading from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 35. Shabbat Shalom, peace and love. I'll be reading from the book of Jeremiah, chapter 35 to chapter 39. Bear with me as I try to get through this. Y'all willing. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 35, verse 1. The word which came to Jeremiah from Yahuwah in the days of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, saying, verse 2, Go to the house of Rechabites, and you shall speak to them and bring them into the house of Yahuwah, into one of them and into one of the rooms, and give them wine to drink. Give them wine to drink. Verse 3, and I took Yaazaniah, the son of Yirmiyahu, the son of Habat Sinyah, and his brothers, and all his sons, and all the house of Rechabites. Verse 4, and brought them into the house of Yahuwah, into the room of the sons of Hanan, son of Yigdaliah, a man of Elohim, which was by the chamber of the heads, above the room of Maasayahu, son of Shalom, the keeper of the door. Verse 5, and I set before the sons of the house of Rechabites bowls filled with wine and cups, and I said to them, drink wine. Verse 6, but they said, we do not drink wine, because Yonadab, the son of Rechab, our father, commanded us, saying, you should not drink wine, neither you nor your sons forever. Verse 7, and do not build a house, neither sow seed, nor plant a vineyard, nor have any of these, but dwell in the tents all your days, so that you live many days on the face of the land where you are sojourners. Verse 8, so we obeyed the voice of Yonadab, son of Rechab, our father, in all that he commanded us, to drink no wine all our days, we, our wives, and our sons, and our daughters. Verse 9, nor to build ourselves houses to dwell in, and we have no vineyard, field, or seed. Verse 10, but we dwell in tents, and have obeyed and done according to all Yonadab, our father, commanded us. Verse 11, and it came to be when Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came up into the land, that we said, come, let us go to Jerusalem, for fear of the army of the Kasdim, and fear of the army of the Arameans. So we dwell at Jerusalem. So we dwell at Jerusalem. Verse 12, and the word of Yahuwah came to Yirmiyahu, saying, verse 13, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, go and you shall say to the men of Yehuda and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, have you not received instruction to obey my words, declare Yahuwah? Verse 14, the words of Yenodab, son of Rechab, which he commanded his sons not to drink wine, are established, and they have not drunk until this day, for they have obeyed their father's command. And as for me, I have spoken to you, rising early and speaking, but you have not obeyed me. Verse 15, and I sent to you all my servants, the prophets, rising up early and sending them, saying, turn each one from his evil way, and make good your deeds, and do not go after other mighty ones to serve them. And you shall dwell in the land which I have given you and your fathers. But you have not inclined your ear nor obeyed me. So he's saying like he sent his servants and his servants as prophets, rising up early, sending them saying, "Turn each one from his evil way." So if a person claiming to be a prophet is not telling you to turn from your evil, not telling you to turn back to the instructions of God, not telling you to repent, meaning turn back to the instructions of God, and do not go after other mighty ones. If this prophet who claims to be a prophet is not telling you this, it's not a prophet of the Most High. Verse 16: the sons of Yonadab, son of Rechab, have indeed carried out the command of their fathers, which he commanded them, but this people has not obeyed me. Verse 17: therefore, thus said Yahuwah Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, see, I am bringing on Yehudah and all inhabitants of Jerusalem all the evil I have pronounced against them, because I have spoken to them, but they did not listen, and I have called to them, but they did not answer. Verse 18, and Yirmiyahu said to the house of the Rechabites, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, because you have obeyed the command of Yehonadab, your father, and guarded all the commands, and done according to all that he commanded you. Verse 19, therefore, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, of Yanudad, son of Rechab, there shall never cease to be a man to stand before me. Chapter 36, verse 1. And it came to be in the fourth year of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, that this word came to Yirmiyahu from Yahuwah, saying, verse 2, take a scroll and write on it. Take a scroll and write on it all the words that I have spoken to you against Yisrael and against Yehudah and against all the nations from the day I spoke to you, from the days of Yoshiyahu even to this day. So we see that Jeremiah, the book of Jeremiah, we're seeing how it became a scroll. Verse 13. It could be that the house of Yehuda hears all the evil which I plan to bring upon them, so that each one turns back from his evil way, and I shall pardon their crookedness and their sin. So you have to turn back in order for your sin to be pardoned. I shall pardon their crookedness and their sin, so that each one turns back from his evil way. And so, verse 4, and Yirmiyahu called Baruch, son of Neriah, and Baruch wrote on a and Baruch wrote on a scroll from the mouth of Yirmiyahu all the words of Yahuwah which he had spoken to him. So Baruch wrote what Yirmiyahu spoke. Verse 5, and Yirmiyahu commanded Baruch, saying, I am shut up. I am unable to enter the house of Yahuwah. Verse 6, but you shall enter and shall read from the scroll which you have written from my mouth the words of Yahuwah in the hearing of the people in the house of Yahuwah on the day of fasting, and also read them in the hearing of all Yehuda who come from their cities. So this was read on the day of fasting. Verse 7, it could be that they present their supplication before Yahuwah and they turn back each one from his evil way. For great is the displeasure and the wrath that Yahuwah has spoken against this people. Verse 8, and Baruch, son of Neriah, did according to all that Yirmiyahu the prophet commanded him, reading from the book the words of Yahuwah in the house of Yahuwah. Verse reading from the book the words of Yahuwah in the house of Yahuwah. Verse 9, and it came to be in the 5th year of Yehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, in the 9th new moon, that they called a fast before Yahuwah. To all the people in Jerusalem and to all the people who came from the cities of Yehuda to Jerusalem. So this is we see, where we get a fast. A lot of you have a lot of folks observe these fasts to this day. Verse 10, and Baruch read from the book the words of Yirmiyahu in the house of Yahuwah in the room of Ger Gemariyahu, son of Shaphan, the scribe, in the upper courtyard at the entry of the new gate of the house of Yahuwah in the hearing of all the people. Verse 11, and Micaiah and Micaiah, son of Yahu, son of Shaphan, heard all the words of Yahuwah from the book. Verse 12, and then he went down to the sovereign house into the scribe's room, and there all the heads were sitting, Elishama, the scribe, and Delayahu, son of Shemayu, and Elnathan, son of Akbar, and Germayahu, son of Shaphan, and Zedekiyahu, son of Hananiah, and all the heads. Verse 13, and Micaiah son them, and Micaiah told them all the words which he heard when Baruch read the book in the hearing of the people. Verse 14, then all the heads sent Yehudi, son of Netanyahu, son of Shelemiah, son of Cushi, to Baruch, saying, take in your hand the scroll from which you have read in the hearing of the people, and come. So Baruch, son of Neriyahu, took the scroll in his hand and came to them. Verse 15, and they said to him, sit down, please, and read it in our hearing. Then Baruch read it in their hearing. Verse 16, and it came to be when they had heard all the words that they looked at each other in fear and said to Baruch, we are certainly going to report all these words to the sovereign. Verse 17, and they asked Baruch, saying, please explain to us, how did you write all these words from his mouth? You know, logical question, rational question, reasonable question. Verse 18, and Baruch answered them, from his mouth he spoke all these words to me, and I wrote them with ink in the book. This is how we came to have the book of Jeremiah. Literally explained how, the book of Jeremiah came about. Verse 19. Then the head said to Baruch, go hide, you and your Miyahu, and let no one know where you are. Verse 20. And they went to the sovereign into the court, but they put the scroll in the room of Elishama the scribe, and told all the words in the hearing of the sovereign. Verse 21. The sovereign therefore sent Yehudi to bring the scroll, and he took it from the room of Elishama the scribe, and Yehudi read it in the hearing of the sovereign and in the hearing of all the heads standing beside the sovereign. Verse 22, and the sovereign was sitting in the winter house in the ninth new moon with a fire burning on the the the, the hearth before him. Verse 23, then it came to be when Yehudi had read three of four columns that the sovereign cut it with the scribe's knife and threw it into the fire that was on the hearth until the entire scroll was burnt in the fire that was on the hearth. Verse 24, yet the sovereign and all his servants who heard all these words were not afraid, nor did they tear their garments. Stiff neck. Verse 25, moreover, Elnathan and Delayahu and Germayahu pleaded with the sovereign not to burn the scroll, but he did not listen to them. Verse 26, and sovereign commanded Yermael, son of sovereign, and Serayahu, son of Azariel, and Shelemiyahu, son of Abdiel, to seize Baruch the scribe and Yirmiyahu the prophet, but Yahuwah had hid them. Verse 27, and after the sovereign, so it was the Most High who hid Yirmiyahu, by the way, and Baruch. Verse 27, after the sovereign had burnt the scroll with the words which Baruch had written from the mouth of Yirmiyahu, the word of Yahuwah came to Yirmiyahu, saying, verse 28, take another scroll and write on it all the former words that were in the first scroll, which Jehoiakim, the sovereign of Yehuda, had burnt. So he had to write it all over again. Verse 29, and say to Yehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, thus said Yahuwah, you have burned this scroll, saying, why have you written in it that the sovereign of Babel is certainly coming to destroy this land and cause man and beast to cease from here? Verse 30, therefore, thus said Yahuwah concerning Yehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, he shall have no one to sit on the throne of Dawid, and his unalive body is to be thrown out to the heat of the day and the frost of the night. Verse 31, and I shall punish him and his seed and his servants for their crookedness, and I shall bring on them and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem and on the men of Yehuda all the evil I have spoken against them, but they did not listen. Verse 32. So Yirmiyahu took another scroll and gave it to Baruch the scribe, son of Neriah, who wrote on it from the mouth Yirmiyahu all the words of the book which Yehoiakim, Yehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, had burned in the fire. And many similar words were added. Many similar words were added. Chapter 37, verse 1. And sovereign Zedekiah, son of Yoshiyahu, reigned instead of Koniyahuah, son of Yehoiakim, whom Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, set up to reign in the land of Yehuda. Verse 2, but neither he nor his servant nor the people of the land had listened to the words of Yahuwah which he spoke by the prophet Yirmiyahu. Verse 3, and Zedekiah, the sovereign, sent Yehukel, son of Shelemiah, and the priest Zephaniah, son of Maaseiah, to the prophet Yirmiyahu, saying, please pray to Yahuwah our Elohim for us. Verse 4, now Yirmiyahu was still coming and going among the people, for they had not yet put him in prison. Verse 5, meanwhile, Pharaoh's army had set out from Mizraim, and when the Kasdim who were sieging Jerusalem heard news of them, they withdrew from Jerusalem. Verse 6, and the word of Yahuwah came to Yirmiyahu the prophet, saying, verse 7, thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yisrael, say this to the sovereign of Yehuda, who sent you to me to inquire of me. See, Pharaoh's army, which has come up to help you, shall turn back to Mitzrayim, to their own land. Verse 8, and Kasdim shall return and Kasdim shall return and fight against the city, and take it and burn it with fire. Verse 9, thus said Yahuwah, do not deceive yourselves, saying, the Kasdim shall go away from us, for they do not go. Verse 10, for though you had stricken the entire army of the Kasdim, who are fighting against you, and there remain only wounded men among them, they would get up each man in his tent and burn the city with fire. Verse 11. And it came to be when the army of the Casdim left the besiege of Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army. Verse 12, that Yirmiyahu went out of Jerusalem to go into the land of Benjamin to receive his portion there in the midst of the people. Verse 13, and it came to be as he was in the gate of Benjamin, a master of the guard was there whose name was Yeriyahu, son of Shelemiah, son of Hananiah, and he seized Yirmiyahu the prophet, saying, you are deserting to the Kasdim. Verse 14, but Yirmiyahu said, it is a lie. I am not deserting to the Kasdim. But he did not listen to him. And Yirmiyahu seized Yirmiyahu, and Uriah seized Yirmiyahu and brought him to the head. Verse 15, and the heads were rough with Yirmiyahu and struck him and put him in prison in the house of Jehonathan the scribe, for they had made that for a prison. Verse 16, when Yirmiyahu had entered into the dungeon and into the cells, then Yirmiyahu remained there many days. Verse 17, and Zedekiah the sovereign sent and took him out, and the sovereign asked him secretly in his house and said, is there any word from Yahuwah? And Yirmiyahu said, there is. And he said, you are given into the hand of the sovereign of Babel. Verse 18, and Yirmiyahu said to Zedekiah the sovereign, what have I sinned against you and against your servant and against this people that you have put me into prison? Verse 19, where are your prophets who prophesied to you, saying, the sovereign of Babel is not coming against you or against this land? Verse 20, but now, please hear, O my master, the sovereign. Please let my petition be accepted before you, and do not make me return to the house of Jehonathan, the scribe, lest I die there. Verse 21, Zedekiah the sovereign then commanded Yirmiyahu to be placed in the court of the guard, and that they should give him daily a piece of bread from the Baker Street until all the bread in the land in the city was gone. So Yirmiyahu remained in the court of the guard. Chapter 38, verse 1. And Shephatiah, son of Matan, and Gedaliah, son of Bashor, and Yukal, son of Shelemiah, and Pashur, son of Malachiah, heard the words which Yirmiyahu had spoken to all the children, to all the people, saying, verse 2, thus said Yahuwah, he who remain in this city shall be unalive by the sword, by scarcity of food, and by pestilence. But whoever goes over to Kasdim shall live, and his life shall be a prize to him, and he shall live. Verse 3, thus said Yahuwah, this city is certainly given into the hand of the sovereign of Babel's army, and he shall take it. Verse 14, verse 4. Then the head said to the sovereign, said, please let this man be put to death, because he is weakening the hands of the men of battle who are left in the city, and the hands of all the people, by speaking such words to them. For this man does not seek the peace of this people, but evil. Verse 5. And Zedekiah the sovereign said, look, he is in your hand, for the sovereign is unable to do any matter against you. Verse 6. And they took Yirmiyahu and threw him into the dungeon of Malchiel, the sovereign son, which was in the court of the guard. And they let Yirmiyahu down with ropes. And in the dungeon there was no water, but mud. So Yirmiyahu sank into the mud. Verse 7. And Abed Melech the Cushite, one of the Enochs, who was in the sovereign's house, heard that they had put Yirmiyahu in the dungeon. And the sovereign was sitting at the gate of Benjamin. Verse 8. And Abed Melech came from sovereign's house and spoke to the sovereign, saying, verse 9, my master, the sovereign, these men have done evil in all that they have done to Yirmiyahu the prophet, whom they have thrown into the dungeon, and he is likely to die from hunger in this place where he is, for there is no more bread in the city. Verse 10. And the sovereign commanded Abed Melech the Cushite, saying, take 30 men from here with you, and lift Yirmiyahu the prophet out of the dungeon before he dies. Verse 11. So Ahmed Melech took the men with him and went into the house of the sovereign under the treasury, and took old clothes and old rags from there, and let them down by ropes into the dungeon to Yirmiyahu. Verse 12. And Ebed Melech the Cushite said to Yirmiyahu, please put these old clothes and rags under your armpits, under the ropes. And Yirmiyahu did so. Verse 13. And they pulled Yirmiyahu up with ropes and lifted him out of the dungeon, and Yirmiyahu remained in the court of the guard. Verse 14. Then Zedekiah the sovereign sent and had Yirmiyahu the prophet brought to him at the third entrance of the house of Yahuwah. And the sovereign said to Yirmiyahu, I am asking you a matter. Do not hide a matter from me. Verse 15. And Yirmiyahu said to Zedekiah, if I declare it to you, shall you not put me to be unalive? And if I give you advice, you shall not listen to me. Verse 16. But Zedekiah the sovereign swore secretly to Yirmiyahu, saying, as Yahuwah lives, who made us this life, I do not put you to death, nor do I give you into the hand of these men who seek your life. Verse 17. And Yirmiyahu said to Zedekiah, thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, if you do indeed surrender to the heads of the sovereign of Babel, then your being shall live, and this city not be burned with fire, and you and your house shall live. Verse 13. Verse 18, but if you do not surrender to the heads of the sovereign of Babel, then this city shall be given into the hand of the Kasdim, and they shall burn it with fire, and you shall not escape from their hand. Verse 19, then Zedekiah the sovereign said to Yirmiyahu, I am afraid of Yehudim who have gone over to Kasdim, lest they give me into their hand and they maltreat me. Verse 20, but Yirmiyahu said, they shall not hand you over. Please obey the voice of Yahuwah, which I speak to you, and let it be well with you, and your life be spared. Verse 21, but if you refuse to surrender, this is the word that Yahuwah has shown me. Verse 22, then see, all the women who are left in the sovereign of Yehuda house shall be surrendered to the heads of the sovereign of Babel. And see, they are saying, your close friends have set upon you and prevailed against you. Your feet have sunk in the mire, they have turned away again. Verse 23, and they are going to surrender all your wives and children to Kesdim, and you yourself shall not escape from their hand, but be taken by the hand of the sovereign of Babel, and this city shall be burned by fire. Verse 24. Then Zedekiah said to Yirmiyahu, let no one know of these words, and you shall not die. Verse 25. But if the heads hear that I have spoken with you, and they come to you and say to you, declare to us now what you have said to the sovereign, and also what the sovereign said to you. Do not hide it from us, and we do not put you to death. Verse 26, then you shall say to them, I presented my petition before the sovereign, not to send me back to the house of Jonathan to die there. Verse 27, all the heads came to Yirmiyahu and asked him, and he informed them according to all these words that the sovereign had commanded. And they said no more, and they said no more to him, for the matter was not heard. Verse 28. So Yirmiyahu remained in the court of the guard until the day that Jerusalem was taken, and he was there when Jerusalem was taken. Chapter 39, verse 1. In the ninth year of Zedekiah, sovereign of Yehuda, in the 10th new moon, Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and all his army came against Jerusalem and besieged it. Verse 2. In the 11th year of Zedekiah, in the fourth new moon, on the ninth day of the new moon, the city was broken in two. Verse 3. And all the heads of the sovereign of of Babel came in and sat in the middle gate, Nergal, Shar Samgar, Nebo, Sarsi, Kim, Rabasiris, Nagar, Sarezer, Rabmag, and all the rest of the heads of the sovereign of Babel. Verse 4. And it came to be when Zedekiah, the sovereign of Yehuda, and all the men of battle saw them, they fled and left the city by night, by way of sovereign's garden, by the gate between the two walls, and he went out toward the desert plain. Verse 5. But the army of Kasdim pursued them and overtook Zedekiah in the desert plains of Jericho, and they captured him and brought him up to Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, to Riblah in the land of Hamath, where he spoke judgment on him. Verse 6. And the sovereign of Babel slew the sons of Zedekiah before his eyes. and the replica, the sovereign of Babel, also slew all the nobles of Yehuda. Verse 7, and he put out the eyes of Zedekiah and bound him with bronze shackles to bring him to Babel. Verse 8, and the Kasdim burnt the house of sovereign and the houses of the people with fire, and they broke down the walls of Jerusalem. Verse 9, and Nebuzaradan, the chief of the guard, exiled to Babel the remnant of the people who remained in the city, and those who defected to him with the rest of the people who were left. Verse 10, but Nebuchadnezzar, then chief of the guard, left in the land of Yehuda the poor people who had nothing whatsoever, and gave them vineyards and fields on the same day. Verse 11, and Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, gave a command concerning Yirmiyahu to Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, saying, verse 12, take him and look after him, and do no harm whatsoever to him, but do to him even as he shall speak to you. Verse 13, and Nebuchadnezzar, chief of the guard, and Nebuchadnezzar the Rebazaris, Nergal, Shareser, the Ramach, and all the sovereign of Babel, chief officers sent. Verse 14, and had Yirmiyahu taken from the court of the guard and gave him Gedaliah, son of Ayakim, son of Shaphan, to take him home, and he dwelt among the people. Verse 15, and the word of Yahuwah had come to Yirmiyahu while he was shut up in the court of the guard, saying, verse 16, go and you shall speak to Abed Melech the Cushite, saying, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, see, I am bringing my word upon this city for evil and not for good, and they shall be before you in that day. Verse 17, and I shall deliver you in that day, declares Yahuwah, so that you are not given into the hand of the men of whom you are afraid. Verse 18, for I shall rescue you, and you shall not fall by the sword, but your life shall be as a prize to you, for you have put your trust in me, declares Yahuwah. That completes the reading of Jeremiah, from Jeremiah chapter 35 to chapter 40. Um, I'm gonna bless us out according to the blessing that was given to Moshe in the book of Numbers, chapter 6, verse 23 to 26. Receive your blessing. May Yahuwah bless you and barak you and guard you. May Yahuwah make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. May Yahuwah lift up his face upon you and give you peace. Peace, love, Shabbat Shalom, love, and peace.